All right, so I've just got my browser open. We like Chrome a lot for this, but other browsers typically work. So housing.uic.edu/apply. And that brings us to our website, and there's information to review and then the link to the housing portal. So I'm just going with apply now, and then the SSO login is where they're going to authenticate with their net ID and password. All right, so now we're on our campus housing portal. And so students will go to apply here. And then the 23-24 application. And so it's just sort of kind of outlines just some basic details. And then we'll just continue to get started. So then there's all these buttons that kind of walk you through the different steps that are going to occur. What will happen is the basic demographic information will get pulled in to the application. This data is imported from the main university file. And these updates go through a couple of times each week so that, you know, the most current information that's available is on our end and pulling into our system. So then they should just review their demographic information, etc. My profile is a little thinner just because I'm more of a tester in this role. They can choose if they want to get text messages or not. And then they will input emergency contact information. And then they're going to have the option to select a 1 semester option. So for our incoming fall people, you know, I'm presuming a lot of them are going to go with yes here. I know once in a while folks stay longer than that, but most of your group will select yes here. And then save and continue. And then there's the section about living learning communities. And this really isn't applicable to your group. It's all the different kind of affinity groups, academic programs, and things like that that live in small clusters together across our residence hall system. So if they're not interested, they can just select that from the drop-down menu. And then it's another save and continue. And then picking room preferences. So SSR, and then maybe their first preference is a 2-person apartment. They have to do at least one, but they can keep adding if they want to provide us with more preferences, they can. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that incoming residents are scheduled to self-select. So we are asking for preferences only as sort of a backup plan. If something happens and we need to manually assign someone, we've got at least an idea of the type of room they're hoping to get into. But they will be getting information about how to pick their own room. This is going to start in late May and just be ongoing throughout the summer, where they will be able to just log back into this same portal and they'll have the directions for how to pick their own room. So I'm just going to put 2 preferences, and then if you keep going, they will also let us know if they think they're going to be working with the Disability Resource Center. And then another save and continue. And then, so as we're moving along, the colors of the buttons are changing. And now we're up to roommate matching questionnaire. And we ask that they fill out all of the questions. And I already have some populated because I've been testing a bit. Folks can submit their application and then go back and make some changes if they like. Things like lifestyle, smoking, alcohol, etc. And so fill in all the questions, comfort level with, gender, things like that, and living with an animal, et cetera, et cetera. And then they're also going to have the opportunity to tell a little bit about themselves. And if they check display and roommate search results, that will show them as an option to other residents. When they do roommate searches, their information will populate as somebody that could reach out to them and say, hey, do you want to live together? Hi, I noticed your profile and I'm wondering if we might be a good fit, things like that. So, it's just sort of like open to new friendships or whatever you want to write. It's really open-ended on what they can put here. Now, what will happen here is their first name and last name will populate as the name that will be visible to other applicants. So I'm going to save and continue. And then this is where they'll get the application page. And it explains, it's a non-refundable fee, etc. Save and continue. And then it's going to be a cart. And again, reminding them it's $50, pay now. And then it's going to take them to this screen where they will input their information, the payment method, credit or debit, e-check, etc. So after that payment occurs, then they'll be able to submit the application, and then they'll be in line for a room offer. I'm going to stop sharing there. Is that enough, do you think, to point folks in the right direction? And then at any point, they can go back to the portal and view things, update things.